Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream watch along on the Dibbly-Dobbly podcast. It's good to be back. It's the third ODI of the ODI series between India and Australia from Rajkot, the third and final game of the series. India currently lead 2-0. Australia will be looking to break the losing streak of 5 games in a row with a win today in the last game of the series. And Australia won the toss. They chose to bat first, and it's going to be David Warner and Mitchell Marsh to get off to a good start for Australia here with the bat. And hopefully Australia can remedy and try and rectify the problems and issues that they have had, especially over the last 5 games where they've lost in South Africa and also here in India. But both teams, Australia and India, looking to ramp up their preparation ahead of the World Cup, which is not that far away from starting in India. Everyone's excited. And hopefully, both teams' preparation will go well. And thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll be here for the first half of the innings. It's going to be Jasprit Bumrah. He's going to start us off with the first over of the day. Didn't play in the last game, but he's back for this third game of the series. And he will start proceedings here in Rajkot. And David Warner will be on strike. He'll take strike. Mitchell Marsh at the non-striker's end. So here we go. Bumrah in to Warner. And this one defended to the offside by David Warner for no run. Looking to get his eye in and get into this innings. Look to build a partnership with Marsh and get Australia off to a good start. But good all round from bowler and batter. And Australia looking for a big total today if they can. They haven't really done that in the last few games. They haven't really got a total that's been quite substantial. Bumrah in. This one again defended by Warner to the fielder at point, and there's no run. So the teams for India and Australia, quite a few changes on both sides. We'll get to that in a minute. But Australia, they've got their main players back. Stark and Hazelwood and Cummins and Maxwell are back for this last game. Bumrah in. And this one defended by Warner to the leg side. And there's no run. Well, it's a quiet start. First 3 balls of the innings. Quite a sedate start. Quite an ordinary start. But both teams looking just to get into the groove and the rhythm before they will branch out and get some runs and wickets. Bumrah in. This one short of a length and guided down to third man by David Warner for a single. He's off the mark, and Australia are off the mark. And Mitchell Marsh will be on strike. Very good start by Bumrah. 3 dot balls and a single. Good start to the first over of the match. Mitchell Marsh didn't play in the last game. He was rested. But he's back for the final game of the series. Bumrah in. This one full and driven through the covers for 4 from Marsh. No protection on the offside. First 10 overs of the power play. That's a glorious shot from Marsh. First boundary for him. Not a bad way to get off the mark. It was full and wide outside off stump. And nicely driven there by Mitchell Marsh through the covers for 4. Not a bad start from him. First ball of his innings. Good to see that from Marsh. That will brim him with confidence. Bumrah in. This one short and defended by Marsh to the offside for no run. It's the end of the over. It's none for 5. Good start by both teams in the first over. Australia looking to make the most of the power play. So the changes for both teams today. India have made quite a few changes. Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Washington Sundar, Kuldeep Yadav, Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj return. For Australia, Mitchell Marsh returns, Glenn Maxwell, Pat Cummins, Mitchell Starc, and Tavia Senga come back into the 11. So quite a few changes on both sides as both teams try to figure out combinations and what's their best 11 for the World Cup, which is only in a matter of weeks as we start to prepare for what will be an exciting World Cup nonetheless. Mohammad Siraj, he's improved over the last year or so. He's back into the He's back into the 11 today. And he will be bowling to Warner. Siraj in. This one full and defended by Warner. Back to mid-off for no run. Yasir, thanks for joining us. I can assure you that I've slept well. It's just probably the lighting, It's making my eyes a little bit darker than usual. But nope, I can assure you I have been sleeping well. Getting my 8 hours in and 40 winks, as they say. But thanks for joining us. And I hope you're well as well. Siraj in. This one short of length, and Warner mistimes it to mid-off for no run. Yes, it's been a difficult last few games for the Australian team. They've lost 5 in a row, 3 in South Africa, 2 here in this series against India. They'll be hoping to finish off strongly today and definitely boost their confidence going into the World Cup, which is what they need at the moment. Bit of a confidence booster, and a win will certainly do that. Siraj in, this one full. An outside edge from David Warner, down to third man for a single. He moves on to 2. Australia none for 6. Well, David Warner's been batted well in the last few games. He scored 100 in the South African series in game number 2. Scored a few 50s. He scored a 50 in the first match of this series against India. And he's been in good touch. And that's good signs for Australia going forward into their World Cup campaign in a few weeks' time. Siraj in. This one back of the length, and Marsh just opens the face of the blade down to third man for a single. He moves on to 5. Warner on 2, none for 7. 2 balls left of the second over. Good start by Mohammad Siraj. Ray Yasir, you say you should try taking up the mic in some professional matches. Your aura as a commentator is perfect. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you, as Siraj is in. This one full and chopped down by Warner. Doesn't time it. Ball goes out to mid-off for no run. Well, thank you. That's a kind compliment. And you also say, your commentary reminds me a bit about the great Richie Bennett. Well, thank you. Yes, Richie was certainly one of the best in the business. And, well, thank you. That's very kind of you. That's a good start from both teams. Looking just to get into this match. Siraj in. This one defended by Warner to the offside for no run. It's the end of the over. It's none for 7 after 2. Good start by both teams in a game that both teams will be hoping to get something out of it in terms of preparation, 11s, possible matchups for the World Cup. which is only in a few days from now. Not far away from the World Cup, which will be in India, of course. So it's going to be Bumrah to continue. None for 5 from his first over. He'll be bowling to Marsh, who's 5 off 3. Warner's 2 off 9. Australia looking to post a big turtle today. Looks a pretty good surface here in Rajkot as Bumrah's in. This one full and lofted. Back down the ground, past mid-off for 4 from Mitchell Marsh. That's his second boundary, and that's a nice shot. A lofted shot down the ground, past mid-off. 4 runs to the total for Australia. None for 11. That's the second boundary. 2 of them have been hit by Mitchell Marsh. He's a very strong ball hitter, very powerful, in good touch. The last few months for Mitchell Marsh has been a revolution. Bumrah in. This one short of length, and Marsh only gets it to the fielder at point for no run. Just having a look at that lofted shot down the ground again from Marsh. It was a very good shot from him. Just seen the ball well. So here we go. Bumrah in. This one defended by Marsh to the fielder at point for no run. Hello, John. Hope you're well. Thanks for joining us. You say, why am I watching again? Must be a complete cricket addict. We're all like that, John. When there's cricket on, you can't resist. You have to watch it. But thanks for joining us. And hopefully Australia can change their fortunes around and boost their confidence after a very tough time of it, losing 5 games on the trot. Bumrah in. This one short of length and pulled by Marsh. Over deep mid-wicket, over cow corner for 6. That's the first maximum of the match. And of this innings, Mitchell Marsh is seeing the ball well. He's 15 off 7. It's a good start from him. And a very promising start from Australia. Well, it's a very good start. And Mitchell Marsh is from the West, from Western Australia. He's a good puller and hooker of the ball. So he's not going to miss out on too many short balls that are going to be bowled to him, and he didn't miss out on that. First 6 of the match. Bumrah in. This one short and wide, outside off stump, and Marsh carves it through point for 4. Throws the hands at it. Another boundary for Mitchell Marsh. He races to 19 of 8. And Australia none for 21, and already some questions for Rohit Sharma in India to answer in the early stages of this Australian innings. That's a very nice shot from Marsh, just placing that ball nicely through that point region for a boundary. Round of applause from the dugout. So 3 boundaries and 1 6. It's all been Mitchell Marsh. David Warner's been quiet at the non-strikers end on 2. Marsh on 19. So a change in the field. Fielder at point going back. Now he's coming back up to a normal point position. And they're pushing the backward point back. And they're keeping the point up. India. So Rohit Sharma ringing the changes after that boundary that went through that point region. For some protection for Bumrah. Bumrah in. This one, a full toss. And defended by Marsh for no run. It's the end of the over. None for 21 after 3. Good start by Australia. It's all been Mitchell Marsh, who's been the main aggressor in this innings today. And David Warner just doing his thing, just being quiet at the non-strikers end, just letting Mitchell Marsh do his thing. But hopefully for Australia, they can change their fortunes around. It's been a very tough period of them of late. They'll be hoping to change the fortunes around if they can. David Warner, 2 of 9. Marsh, 19 of 9. Siraj in. This one full, outside off stump, and driven nicely. Through the covers for 4, through cover point for 4 from David Warner. That's his first boundary. Yeah, it's a good shot there. Mohammad Siraj not quite getting the line right. A little bit short, a little bit wide outside off stump. Warner through the hands at it. He's not going to miss out on any width outside that off stump, and no protection back there on the cover boundary. With this power play in the first 10 overs, only 2 fielders allowed outside the circle. Siraj in. This one defended by Warner to the offside for no run. So Australia looking to get a bit of continuity and a bit of cohesion in their team for this game, but also their cricket in general. The last few games have been very substandard, poor. In the series against South Africa and also the series against India in the first 2 games has been good. Siraj in. This one again defended by Warner to mid-on for no run. But it looks a pretty good surface. Australia will be hoping to get some runs on the board here if they can. Last game of the series. Series is already gone, but for Australia, a win will boost their confidence, no doubt. Just to settle them as they enter the final days of preparation for the World Cup. Siraj in. This one full and lofted by David Warner. Over wide, long on for 6. And David Warner's now getting in on the party. Second 6 of the match. First one for David Warner. He races to 12 of 13. Already Australian done for 31. It's a good start of the power play. In the slot there from Siraj, and Warner didn't miss out on that. 6 runs. 82 metres, that 6 went. John says, nice to see the big show back. Hope he gets a run with the bat. What's happened to Agar? I wouldn't be having Green in the starting 11 for the World Cup. We'll get back to that, John. Siraj in. This one defended by Warner to point. No run. Yes, it's good to see Glenn Maxwell back. There's been some question marks about his fitness because of the injury that he had to his leg last summer. But it's good to see him back in today. With Ashton Agar, John, he's in Australia because he's expecting his first child. So that's why Ashton Agar is not with the squad at the moment. So you would think Ashton Agar would be back for the World Cup. Siraj in. This one full, and again, lofted by Warner, high into the air. It will go over the rope again, over long on for another 6. The same area as the other 6 that he hit in the over. It's the end of the over, none for 37 after 4. It's good over from Australia. And your last point there about Cameron Green, John. He has struggled a little bit, Cameron Green, with the bat and with the ball. So he probably doesn't start in the 11 if he is in the squad. Because he has struggled a little bit, Green, especially in the last game, went for 100 runs, which wasn't good, but all the Australian bowlers went for runs in the last game. But he didn't look good with the ball at all. With the bat, he struggled a bit. In the first game, he struggled with his, just rotation of strike and tempo. So it'll be interesting. He may miss out. Marcus Stoinis is not playing today, so you would think it would be Maxwell and Stoinis as the all-rounders to play, and then Green has to miss out. Depends on what sort of combination Australia are looking for, but I don't think Australia know what their best 11 is at the moment because they've been chopping and changing rapidly. So we'll have to wait and see what they do there, the selectors for Australia. Bumrah to continue. None for 19 from his 2. He's in now to Marsh. This one, a full toss. Marsh defends it to mid-off for no run. Well, it's been good from Australia. None for 37. 5th over we're into now. Good start in the power play. Some good cricket shots. India just haven't quite got it right early on with the ball. A little bit wayward with their line and length, but they'll be hoping to remedy that as we get into this innings. Bumrah in. This one short, outside off stump, cut away by Marsh, down to third man. And the fielder does well at the third man fielder does well to cut that off for a single. That was almost a certainty for a boundary, but good fielding there. No surprise, it was Jadeja. He's very quick across the outfield. Had to make a lot of ground, but he did well. Put in the dive and the slide. Good arm as well. Don't want to take him on. Gets a lot of run-outs, Jadeja. But it's a promising start from Australia. And I think many Australian fans will just want to see some consistency and a bit of cohesion today. We haven't seen that in the last few games as Bumrah's in. And this one on leg stump and flicked away to deep backward square leg by David Warner for a boundary. Just getting too leg-sideish there, Bumrah. Not quite getting the line right there on that occasion. And 4 more to the total. Warner races to 22. John says, Stoinis hasn't set the world on fire either. He's hitting better than Green, but both their bowling is on par or subpar. And that's true, John. Marcus Stoinis, since he's debuted in 2017, he hasn't really done much in Australian colours. Bumrah in, this one short and glided down to third man by David Warner. Just opened the face of the blade just to work it down to third man for one. Yeah, but his bowling's improved, Marcus Stoinis. I thought in South Africa he bowled well in the first few games, and Australia bowled him with the new ball. He did a job there, and he did okay. So he's been working on it. But, yeah, Cameron Green's struggling as well, so you have to make a bit of a decision there, whether you play Green or go with Stoinis. Bumrah in, this one short. And goes straight through to the keeper for no run. 1 for the over, signalled by umpire Kumar Damasino. So the first short ball of the innings. Mitchell Marsh just a little bit too early with the shot. Already pulled one away for 6 in his innings thus far, which was a nice pull shot off Mohammad Siraj a few overs ago. Bumrah in, this one full and punched down the ground by Marsh. Can't get it past mid-on. He'll only come through for a single. And that's the end of the over. It's the end of the over, none for 44 after 5. It'll be interesting to see what they do, John. Australia do have a lot of all-rounders in the squad. It's who do you play? Who do you play? Do you play Stoinis and do you play Green together, or do you play either Stoinis or Green along with Maxwell? Because that's something that the selectors will have to mull over and think about. And be interesting to see who makes it in the final 15 for the squad for Australia in the World Cup. Obviously, all teams will have to get those in now. We're nearly towards the deadline, the cutoff for that. Not exactly with the exact date, but yes to say, John, I wouldn't have Stoinis bowling at the death. Bowl out his 10 early, in my opinion. Well, obviously, you're going to have Mitchell Starc, who's going to bowl at the death, are you? So Stoinis, he can be the extra seamer. If Australia go with two spinners, he can be that extra seamer and bowl out his overs there. And then you have the 2 spinners who will bowl out their 10 overs. So that's 20. So it depends on the combination, depends on conditions, if Australia are going to play 2 spinners or not. So, but obviously having Mitchell Starc back for this game and also for the World Cup, you know what you're going to get from him in the death because he's quite a specialist. Siraj in, this one full defended by Marsh to mid-off for no run. A good solid forward defence by Mitchell Marsh. He's seen the ball well, 21 off 14. Warner's 23 off 17. None for 44. It's a good opening partnership. Good start in the first 6 overs of this match. Looking to make use of this power play, Australia. Well, they batted first in the first game, Australia. They could only make 276 in Mohali. That wasn't enough. So they need 300 minimum plus today. Siraj in, this one full. And Marsh works it down to a deep long on for a single. Good rotation of strike. Keep the scoreboard ticking. That's what we want to see from Australia today with their batting. Just doing the basics. Look to score, look to rotate the strike, put away the bad ball, but play some good cricket shots and be smart about it. The dismissals and the way they've batted in the last few games, they haven't quite done that. And that's why they've struggled a bit, especially in the last game. Well, to be honest, chasing 317 and 33 overs, it was always going to be a tough ask. Siraj in, this one short. Warner attempts to pull. Playing a miss, straight through to the keeper, no run. So Mohammad Siraj going upstairs, looking to test out David Warner. 23 off 18, Marsh 22 off 15. Good start by these two. Good run rate, 8 and over is good. Siraj in. This one short, and Warner tries to, get this fine down to third man. But in the end, he can only work it to the keeper for no run. Try to glide that, David Warner, trying to open the face of the blade. Didn't quite get the alignment right. Found KL Rahul, the wicketkeeper. But David Warner looking to be proactive, looking to score, which is good to see. And he's been in good touch. You say, John, Pat or Josh is also a difficult decision. It is. I'll come back to that in a minute, John. Siraj in, this one short down the leg side. There's an appeal for caught behind, and the umpire says not out. He signals 2 for the over. Umpire Chowdhury. Not called a wide either. So dot ball is the result. That is a difficult decision, John. I did hear Brendan Julian yesterday as I was watching a bit of the domestic one-day cup between South Australia and Western Australia. I did listen to Brendan Julian. He was commentating, and he did mention about Pat Cummins about dropping himself, which was an interesting viewpoint. But he may do that in this World Cup. If he's not in good touch or good form. Siraj in, this one is a drop and run by Warner to the offside for a quick single. Good batting there from Warner. The end of the over, none for 46 after 6. So he suggested that Pat Cummins should drop himself during the tournament, obviously, and have a different captain. But seeing that Pat's captain, obviously he's probably not inclined to do that because obviously you're the captain. So it'd be interesting to see what they do there. You would think, obviously Stark has to play, but you would think, it is a difficult decision. Hazelwood's done well of late in terms of he revolutionized himself in T20 cricket. Pat Cummins, you know what you're going to get from him, so it's always going to be a difficult decision, but that's the job of the selectors, which is a tough job indeed. So we shall see what they do as Pradesh Krishna changing the bowling. Pradesh Krishna comes into the attack. Early days in his ODI career, 17 matches, 28 wickets, which is not bad. He bowled well in the last game, Krishna. So change of bowling. Bumrah out, Krishna in. Rohit Sharma ringing the changes. Krishna in. This one short, pulled by David Warner. Gets it past the fielder at mid-on. And the fielder can't cut that off. He'll race away into the boundary for 4. Didn't quite time that, David Warner, but it's a quick outfield. And the fielder at mid-on there, Rohit Sharma, the captain, could not stop that. Brings up the 50 partnership as well for the opening wicket. Good start. Rohit Sharma just labouring there. David Warner did well to get that well wide of him at mid-on. Mid-on. for a boundary. Krishna in. This one, a swing and a miss by Warner. Through to the keeper, no run. Through the hands of that, David Warner hoped for the best. It's usually what you do as a batter. Just throw your hands at it, hope for the best sometimes. But swing and a miss there by Warner. But he's on 28 off 23. Marsh, 22 off 15. None for 50, the partnership for the first wicket off 38 balls, which is being good, evenly spread between Warner and Marsh. They've scored boundaries and they've hit sixes, which is good. They've played some good cricket shots. Krishna in, this one short and glided through point for 4 from David Warner. The fielder at third man can't come around and cut that off. It will be a boundary. David Warner races to 32. None for 54 for Australia. 6.3 overs in. It's a very good start by the Australian team. A little bit short, a little bit wide outside our shot there from Krishna. But nicely glided by David Warner. He's in good touch. And he'll be an important asset for Australia in this World Cup. He want to do well in his final World Cup for Australia, of course. And that's the same with other teams around the world. A lot of their players will be playing in their final World Cup. So all teams and all those players who are playing in their last World Cup will want to do well. So it's a good start by Australia. 8.31 is the current run rate. That's healthy. That's pretty good. Krishna in. This one fall and Warner gets an outside edge that goes over backward point down to the third man boundary for 4. Third man can't cut that off. It's another boundary. Just having a check just to be sure if it was a boundary or not. Kumar Damasina on the radio. Just wants to make sure. And he signaled 4. So 4 runs to David Warner. Let's have a look. Yep, rolled into the rope. The fielder got a hand to it, but he knocked it back. So an easy decision there for the umpire. 4 runs. Already 16 off the over. So it's, 16 off the over. 3 boundaries. Nope, 12 off the over. My mistake. 12 off the over. And a dot ball in it. So 3 boundaries and a dot. So it's been quite expensive first up from Krishna. Not quite finding his line of length or radar. That's understandable as a bowler when you're in your first over. You're just trying to look for that rhythm and look for your area to hit on the pitch and be consistent. But it's a promising start from Australia here. They need to go on with it. That's been the problem with Australia. Once a good partnership's been established, they lose a wicket. Krishna in. This one short, pulled by Warner, over. Fine leg for 6. And David Warner now getting into the groove. He's raced to 42 off 26. Marsh, 22 off 15. Hasn't had much of the strike. Short delivery there from Krishna, but Warner just helped it on its way down a fine leg for a maximum. Sharma throws his head back. Not happy about that. The captain, who's back into the side today, he was rested in the first 2 games along with Virat Kohli. And they're back for this last game of the series, which they will want to get a bit of game time before that World Cup. Krishna in, this one short of length. Warner just glides it behind square on the offside for a single. That's good batting, races to 43. And that's the end of the over. End of the over, none for 65 after 7. None for 65 after 7. It's been a very promising start in this power play by Australia. Making the most of this power play. Good run rate, over 9 and a half, basically 9.29, so nearly 9.3 runs per over, which is not a bad run rate. Quite a healthy run rate. So that last over went for 19 runs. So that's the biggest over that Australia have scored off so far in the innings. And they'll be hoping to keep pushing on in this power play. Only 3 overs left, so they'll be looking to make the most of it with 2 fielders up inside the circle. Mohammad Siraj back into the attack. hasn't played in the first 2 games, so a little bit rusty today. Not quite finding his radar. So he'll be hoping to get back onto that line of length and build that consistency. David Warner, 43 off 27. Siraj, in. This one short. And is he out? There's an appeal for caught behind. David Warner went for the uppercut. Ball was close to the bat. There was an appeal for caught behind, but India are not going to review it. They've said, nope, I don't think David Warner got a bit of bat on that. So a dot ball in the end. India, they asked the question, they appealed. Short delivery from Siraj. Warner tried to go for that uppercut, nearly brushing the glove and the outside edge of the bat. Rahul was convinced that Warner did make contact. But in the end, looking from that replay, clear gap between the ball and the bat and the gloves. Siraj in. This one short, and Warner cuts it through backward point for a boundary. He races to 47, none for 69 for Australia. It's been a good start to this match. And hopefully for Australia can boost their confidence as well. Nicely cut by David Warner through backward point for a nice boundary. Roll of the wrists, kept it along the ground. That's a good cricket shot. No need to be reckless. He'll be disappointed, David Warner, especially in the first game. He got 50 and then got out. So he'll be hoping for a big score today. He's on 47. Siraj in. This one back of a length. Warner tucks it to the fielder at mid-wicket for no run. But a very good start from Australia. Very promising start. Partnership is good. 69 it's currently at the moment for the opening wicket. Warner on 47 on strike and going well. Marsh hasn't had much of the strike in the last few overs. It's all been David Warner. That's all about good partnership batting. If one's going at the other end, your job, the non-striker's end, is just to give him the strike. And that's what Mitchell Marsh is doing at the moment to David Warner. Siraj in this one. A full toss on leg stump. Warner gets it behind square on the leg side, down to deep backward square leg for a couple of runs. They'll come back for the second. Warner moves on to 49. Not quite getting that right there, Siraj. With that full toss on leg stump. Siraj in, this one short, down the leg side and pulled away by David Warner over the fine leg boundary for 6. It will bring up David Warner's half century. Another half century in one-day internationals for David Warner, 55 off 32. The partnership races to 77. And it's been a good opening stand. Nicely played again by David Warner. Just helped it on its way over fine leg for 6. Pitch is good. Not too many demons or gremlins in the surface. So it looks an evenly paced surface. Siraj in, this one short. Warner glides it down to short third man for a quick single. Good batting from Warner. Good over from Australia. It's the end of the over. It's none for 78 after 8. Well, none for 78 after 8. It's been a very good start by Australia. Good opening partnership. Warner 56, Marsh 22. Very good start indeed. David Warner loves playing against India in one-day cricket. He's averaging 53.4 against them with over 1,000 runs. As Pradesh Krishna will continue, none for 19 from his first over. Quite expensive from him today. Not quite getting it right with the ball. And India just been a little bit wayward with their line length. That's to be understandable. Last game of the series, they've already wrapped up the series, so they'll be just looking to get a bit of game time in today, really. So Mitchell Marsh, 22 of 15. Warner, 56 of 33. Krishna in. This one short. Warner tries to work it down to fine leg, but he gets a bit of bat on it. It's been given out by Kumar Masina. And a good catch from Rahul. And he's walking David Warner, so he's not even bothering reviewing that because he got a bit of glove on it, a bit of bat. Trying to get inside the line, trying to work it over fine leg. But on this occasion, he did not quite execute the shot. Yeah, bit of bat, bit of glove. Good catch from Rahul. He was in the air when he took the catch, jumping. David Warner fell over afterwards. But nonetheless, first wicket for India. Krishna breaks through. Warner has to go for 56. It's 1 for 78. Well, that's what we've been talking about. That's been the frustrating thing from Australia over the last few games in South Africa and here. Is once a good partnership has been established, they lose a wicket. And the same thing has happened here today. 78 for the first wicket. Couldn't go on. Good start, and then Warner gets out. So that's been the problem with Australia, is just losing wickets at the wrong time. Obviously, you're going to get out. That's just the aim of the game. Obviously, wickets are, but you have to try and, prolong that if you can. But nonetheless, David Warner, good contribution nonetheless. 50 for him again. Got one in the first game. Got one in the last game of the series here today. And Steve Smith will make his way out to the middle. Captain in the last game, Steve Smith. Pat Cummins didn't play, but he's back for the last game. Not as captain, but at number 3, and pretty good career, nearly approaching 5,000 ODI runs, average of 44, which is not bad, which is pretty good. 1,200s in one-day cricket. That's what you expect from the good players in the world. Krishna in. This one full. Smith works it off his pads through square leg for at least a couple of runs. They'll come back for 2. He's off the mark with a couple. Typical Steve Smith shot. Just a flick off the pads through square leg or through mid-wicket. Yeah, David Warner just making contact with the gloves. You can see the deflection and there's a spike on ultra edge. Yeah. Didn't quite execute that shot in the end. First wicket for India. This one is short outside off stump, left alone by Smith through the keeper, no run. So Krishna, after an expensive first over, has done well to come back and get the wicket of David Warner, get the first breakthrough for India today. Now Steve Smith and Mitchell Marsh will go about building their own partnership and look to rebuild the innings. Krishna in. This one short, punched by Smith to the fielder at point for no run. Mitchell Marsh hasn't had most of the strike. He's 22 off 15. It was mainly David Warner in the last few overs that really got Australia off to a bit of a good start with this opening partnership of 70-odd. But the run rate's still good from Australia. 9 and overs, good. So if they can maintain that, build partnerships and not lose too many wickets and hope to accelerate towards the end of the innings, then they'll be in a good place. Krishna in, this one defended by Smith to the offside for no run. He's 2 of 4. Marsh 22 of 15. Back in the side today, Mitchell Marsh didn't play in the last game. He was rested. But it's been an incredible few months for Mitchell Marsh. It's been a good comeback from him. Batted well in the Ashes. He captained Australia and South Africa in the T20 and the ODI series. Krishna in, this one full outside off stump and driven through the covers nicely from Smith for a boundary. That's an exquisite shot from Steve Smith. He's not going to miss out on that. It's the end of the over. It's 1 for 84. Oh, 9 overs, 1 for 84 for Australia. 1 over left at the power play. This first power play of the innings, and it's been a good start. Despite losing the wicket of David Warner, the run rate's been good. The pitch looks pretty good for batting. Not too many gremlins, not too many demons in the surface. So it looks a pretty good surface, as you would expect in one-day cricket. You're going to have a nice, even surface, good pace, play your shots, and Australia making good use of the surface early on. Won the toss today. Pat Cummins chose to bat first, and already Australia off to a good start. We're going to see some spin. It's going to be the left arm spin of Jadeja, playing at his home ground today. And he's into the attack. He's in now to Marsh. This one defended by Marsh to the leg side for no run. So Rohit Sharma changing his bowlers around, looking to see if there's going to be a bit of surface, a bit of spin and assistance in the surface for Jadeja and for their spinners today, Kuldeep Yadav and Washington Sundar. Jadeja in, this one defended by Marsh on the front foot. No run. Well, plenty of batting to come for Australia. Labuschagne Maxwell and Cameron Green to come. Then Carey. He's batting at number 5 today. Jadeja in, this one driven through the covers nicely by Marsh for 4. That's his first boundary. Moves on to 26. It's his first boundary in a while because he has had most of the strike. That one outside off stump and nicely worked through the covers by Marsh. For a boundary, bit short from Jadeja as well. Jadeja in. This one is pushed by Marsh down to mid-on for a quick single. Moves on to 27. And that will bring Steve Smith on strike. He's on 6. Australia 1 for 89. Last over at the power play. 2 balls left. Not much turn for Jadeja. Just going on with the arm at the moment. So not much turn. Maybe as the day progresses, as the sun bakes the pitch, we may get a little bit of assistance with turn. But we'll have to wait and see. But already early on, not much turn for Jadeja at the moment for the left arm spinner. Jadeja in. This one punched down the ground by Smith down to long off for a single. He moves on to 7. Marsh 27. So already Marsh and Smith, good partnership developing here at the moment. Here we go, Jadeja in. This one short handside off stump. Marsh only defends to the offside for no run. That's the end of the over. It's 1 for 90 after 10. End of the power play, 1 for 90 after 10. Into power play number 2, where you can have an extra couple of fielders outside the 30-yard circle between overs 11 to 40. But Australia have made good use of their first 10 overs of this power play. 1 for 90 is not bad. That's a pretty good start. Australia, their World Cup squad looks a pretty good squad, but they need some confidence after the last few games, losing the last few games. They need some confidence today. Already a very bright start, 1 for 90. Losing David Warner a few overs ago, which will be a little bit frustrating for David Warner because he got in and got set. Krishna in. This one worked outside off stump by Smith through through mid-wicket for a single. Yes, the World Cup squad for Australia. Have a look at the squad. It looks a pretty good squad, as I mentioned. A lot of all-rounders. Bowling attack's pretty good. The batting, all of them have done well in the past, but not quite clicking at the moment. I can't remember the last time an Australian team before a World Cup lost in the way that this team has lost recently. But it doesn't happen very often, but it's happened to Australia this time around. Krishna in. This one short outside off stump. Marsh throws his hands at it, gets it past the fielder down to the third man boundary for 4. Another boundary for Mitchell Marsh. Krishna just given a bit of width, a bit short outside off stump. Through the hands at it. Marsh got an outside edge down to third man for another boundary. It's a pass that fielder at backward point. Rohit Sharma got some questions to try and answer here. Krishna in. This one short outside off stump, and Marsh can only get a single down to third man. Australia 1 for 96. Mitchell Marsh 32 off 22. Smith 8 off 7. Good partnership between these two being established at the moment. In this last game of the series. Krishna in. This one full outside off stump. Outside edge from Smith down to third man for a single. Well, this is Australia's last sort of competitive, well, not really competitive match, but for both teams, it's their last sort of competitive match before the World Cup in terms of the warm-ups, which will be next week, I think. I think Australia play Pakistan and the Netherlands in their warm-up matches, which will be next week, and Australia will be looking to try and fine-tune things in those 2 warm-up matches. Krishna in. This one full, defended on the front foot by Marsh for no run. Not far away for the World Cup. Starting in a few days in October till November. It's going to be in a pretty busy, chaotic 6 weeks. India, the home side, they want to do well. They want to try and make it to the semis and make it to the final if they can, like they did in 2011 when they defeated Sri Lanka. But anyone can win it. This World Cup is going to be an exciting one, that's for sure. Krishna in. This one full and defended to the offside by Marsh. A dot ball to finish the over. End of the over, it's 1 for 97. 1 for 97 after 11. It's a promising start from Australia. It's good surface. And Australia making good use of it. John says, selection and coaching is a big issue for Australia. The World Test Championship final was the last time we looked dominant. Pretty sad since. Can't keep blaming it as just one of those things. Well, that's, teams go through patches, John, and troughs in form. The old saying goes, class is permanent, form is temporary. And many of the Australian players are well experienced, but yeah, it hasn't been good. They've been a little bit off. They haven't quite executed. But, cricket's a very hard game. You have to try and execute, and you don't quite execute, then you can be on the receiving end of it, and that's what Australia have been at the moment. Jet Asia in. This one defended by Smith for no run. A lot of people have said the coaching. Yeah, you can always blame selection and coaching, really. That's always where people go to voice their frustrations at and blame it on that. Yes, it does have a little bit of a part to play in, but it's mainly the players, really, that need to try and execute. This one, a single down the ground from Smith. He moves on to 10. Run the ball 10 for him. Not much turn for Jadeja. Thus far, Jadeja in. This one full. Driven down to long off by Marsh. He picks up another single. He moves on to 33. Australia 1 for 99. That will bring Smith back on strike. He's on 10. But you would think Australia would turn things around, before the World Cup and get back into some good consistency. Haven't quite played at their best, but they've chopped and changed the team as well. The team's been chopped and changed many times, based because of injury and all that stuff. So they haven't really quite got that right thus far. And this one worked behind square on the leg side for a single from Smith to end the over. So he had the over 1 for 104 after 12. Not a bad start from Australia. 1 for 104. It's a pretty good start. 9 wickets in hand. 12 overs are completed, which is very promising. India, their bowlers have been a little bit wayward in their line and length today. A little bit expensive. Pradesh Krishna being the most expensive one, going at 10 runs and over. Everyone's gone for 8s and 6 runs and over. Jadeja's gone for 6.5. Bumrah 8. Same with Siraj. It's going to be change of the bowling. It's going to be spin from both ends. It's going to be Washington Sundar, who's going to come on to bowl. Hasn't played much in one-day cricket. It's only 18 matches for him, 16 wickets in that, average of 27. So spin from both ends. So Krishna out of the attack, Sundar in to the attack. And there's been a lot of talk about him. Washington Sundar trying to push his case for selection for India in the World Cup squad. Sundar in. This one full and looped up by Sundar, and Smith works it to long on for a single. John, you say, I really blame the coaches. So it's not it's not sour grapes or frustration from me. But in this instance, it's justified in my opinion. Yes. Well, many fans can get frustrated at things they can't really control. Can't really control how the players play and execute on the day. Can't really control what the coaches or the selectors think or do. So it's just the way it is, as Sundar's in. This one defended by Marsh for no run. But, many people will find ways to try and blame Australia's misfortunes of late. Sundar in. This one defended by Marsh to the offside. No run. Sundar in. This one short, outside off stump, and Marsh gets it past the fielder at point, who did well to field that, but a bit of a misfield. They'll come through for a couple of runs. Just a little bit short there. Sundar nicely cut down by Marsh. Good from the fielder at point, but a bit of a knock-on, a fumble. In the end, 2 runs to Mitchell Marsh and 2 runs onto the Turtle for Australia, the one for 107. Sunday in. This one looped up, full outside of stump, driven by Marsh through the covers. The fielder will come around and cut that off for another couple of runs. It's been a promising start from the Australian batters today. Good partnership developing here from Marsh and Smith after the wicket of Warner, who went a few overs ago. This is the thing for Australia. Just to rebuild, get back on track, establish a good partnership. Sunday in, this one short outside stump. Marsh glides it nicely through backward point for a boundary. He moves into the 40s, 41 for him. It's the end of the over. It's 1 for 113. That's a very nice shot there from Marsh. 13 overs done, 1 for 113 for Australia. It's a very good start, very promising start compared to their batting performances in the last few games in South Africa and in the first 2 games of this series against India. Plenty of batting to come. Labuschagne, Maxwell, Green and Carey to come. Plenty of hitters. Glenn Maxwell's back. So Australia's bowling looks a bit stronger today. With Cummins, Stark and Hazlewood, and you've got Taveya Sanger. No Adam Zampa, he's been rested for today's game. Jadeja to continue. Steve Smith's got his helmet off. He's got his cap on. Why not? There's only 2 spinners from both ends, so take the helmet off. It does get a little bit hot underneath there. Jadeja, none 13 from his 2 overs. He's going to continue. He's in now. This one full, driven by Smith to the fielder recover for no run. John says, what do you think will be a par score of 360? I think so, John. Anything 350 plus is pretty good. I think Australia should be aiming for that. Steve Smith just pulling out of that. Someone behind the side screen. Not quite ready. Now he's ready now. Jadeja in. This one on leg stump, and Smith works it through square leg for a single. Good batting. Yeah, I think anything 350 should be par. John, I think it's a pretty good ground here in Rajkot, I think. I think it's a high-scoring ground. So, yeah, anything 350 plus, John, I think will be par minimum. Unfortunately for Australia, they didn't quite do that in the first game when they batted first. They only made 276, which wasn't enough in Mahali. You needed 350 there. This one defended again by by Marsh. There's no run. So if Australia can get that, then I think they're in business. They've got a stronger bowling attack today. Jadeja in this one worked around the corner from Marsh through square leg for a single. But we shall wait and see, John. We shall wait and see as this innings and match progresses. Jadeja in again. This one full defended by Smith for no run. Gian says, stuck at work right now, but we'll catch the end of the game. Good start from Australia. Will they squander it again? Well, hopefully not, Jihan. Hopefully they can capitalize on it. Jadeja in to Smith. This one worked around the corner by Smith down to fine leg for 3 runs. Good running from Smith and Marsh in this partnership. That's the end of the over. It's 1 for 115. Oh, sorry. There's still 1 ball left in the over. Went a little bit too early there. They're just checking the boundary to see if it was 4. Oh, it was 4. Yeah, the fielder went to field the ball, picked it up, and he just dropped the ball back onto the rope on the toe balloon. So now it's the end of the over. It's a boundary 4 to finish. It's 1 for 119 after 40. That's the question, Jihan. Hopefully they don't. It's a good start. India haven't bowled well. Just haven't quite got it right. A little bit wayward. But no, good, encouraging signs from Australia today. But hopefully they can build on this going forward. Hopefully they can. It's a good run rate from Australia. 9 and over. Good pitch. 1 for 119. As Washington Sunder is continuing. And now this one short outside off stump. Marsh attempts to cut. Doesn't quite time it. Cuts it into the ground and there's no run. He's on 42, Marshall 33, Smith 21 off 18. It's a very good partnership that these two have developed for the second wicket. Sunder in. This one on the pads and Marsh can only defend it out to the leg side for a dot. Sunder in. This one full, defended by Marsh. No run. Gian says it was like that in the Ashes too. The worst was after the Head-Marsh partnership at Headingley. Yeah, that's been the problem with Australia. It's whenever they develop a good partnership, we've seen that in the last few games in their losing streak. As Sunder's in. This one defended again by Marsh. No run. They always manage to lose a wicket at the wrong time. Just like today. A good opening partnership between Warner and Marsh, and then Warner gets out. So Australia have to try and minimise that going forward. Try and prolong that longer. Build the partnership. Keep it going. Sunder in. This one on the pads and Marsh defends to the leg side for no run. But speaking about Mitchell Marsh, he's in good touch. He's been in good touch over the last few months. Sunder in. This one short, outside off stump, cut away by Marsh to deep backward point for a single. Not a bad way to end the over. See the over, it's 1 for 120. 1 for 120 after 15. Second power play, Australia going well. Thanks everyone for joining us. And we will be here for the first half of the first innings of the Australian first innings. And Australia have done well. Good start, 1 for 120 in 15 overs, going at a good pace here. But for Australia, they need to continue on and build if they can. So spin still continuing from both ends and tandem. It's going to be Jadeja who will continue the left arm spinner. In now to Marsh. And this one just pushed to the offside by Marsh for a single. And he's been good today, Mitchell Marsh. He's been in good touch. I thought he captained okay in South Africa. He had a few challenging games, especially in the last few games of that series, but I thought he captained pretty well overall. He did a good job. Jadeja in. This one outside off stump and punched through the offside by Smith for another single. Good rotation of strike from the Australian batters and Marsh and Smith. Jadeja in. This one full, defended by Marsh to the offside, no run. Gian says, I think the formula should be Marsh and Warner attacking the power play like Jay Assyria in 96 World Cup, then Smith and Marners steady through the middle and leave wickets in hand. This one, another single to the offside from Marsh. I think that's a good strategy, Jihan. I think that's good. And we saw a little bit of that today with Marsh and Warner. Played some good cricket shots and really capitalised in the first 10 overs of the power play. Jadeja in this one, punched through the offside again by Smith for another single. So that's not a bad method or game plan to go with. And you have to say, Jihan, for Maxwell and Saunders to capitalise at the end, or hopefully. Jadeja in, this one short outside off stump and cut away through backward point for another boundary from Marsh. He races to 49. That's not a bad way to end the over. It's the end of the over, 1-for-128. 16 overs completed. Not a bad way to finish the over. Australia have started well. Good platform, good foundation. We'll be hoping to capitalise on that going forward in the remainder of this innings. So it's been pretty good. Sunder to continue. This one full, and Smith defends it to mid-on for no run. Disappointed in the way he got out in the last game, Steve Smith. Just flashing the hands at one, getting an outside edge in the run chase in game number 2, but already he started well in game number 3, 23 of 21. And he batted well in game number 1 as well. But he was disappointed not to go on with it. Sunder in, this one short down the leg side. Smith pulls it down to find leg. The fielder will come around and cut it off for a single. Moves on to 24, Smith. So India looking to just strangle Australia here with spin. Sunder in. This one pushed to the offside by Marsh, looking for a quick single, but they decide not to go, and there's no run. So Sunder in. This one defended on the back foot by Marsh, no run. He's on 49 off 44. Smith, 24 of 22. 7 boundaries and a 6 for Mitchell Marsh in this innings. It's been pretty good. Sunder in. This one short outside off stump. Marsh cuts away to deep backward point for 1. And that will bring up his half century. Well played. A round of applause from Pat Cummins, the captain. He's got a smile on his face as Mitchell Marsh raises his bat to acknowledge his half century. 50 of 45 balls. Australia 1 for 130. Smith 24 at the other end. This partnership developing nicely for the second wicket after a very good opening partnership between Warner and Marsh. Sunder in. This one whipped away outside off stump by Smith through the leg side for a single. Good over from Australia. It's the end of the over. It's 1 for 131, and it's time for the players to have a refreshment. It's time for drinks here in Rajkot in this third ODI of the series. At drinks, Australia 1 for 131, and it's a pretty good platform, good foundation, but they will have to try and build on that after drinks. And hopefully they can break the losing streak as well. Losing 5 games in a row, as I said earlier. Can't remember the last time Australia losing this badly before a World Cup. As I said, it doesn't really happen too often, obviously. It's just one of those periods they're in at the moment. Once you start losing, it's very hard to get out of it. It becomes a little bit of a habit. You want to try and make winning a habit, but when you start losing, it does become a habit, and it's very hard to get out of that. But in game number 3, so far so good. Very good start. 1 for 130 odd, 1 for 131 is not a bad start after 17 overs of this match. Batting first today. Australia have stronger bowling attack today. So if they can get a score of 350, you would think minimum from here. They're on par to, well, the way they're batting at the moment, if they continue on this pace and run rate, you would think 350 should be achievable from here. That would be a very good score indeed. On a surface, it's pretty good. The surface hasn't really played many tricks. It's good for batting. As we've seen in this series thus far, all the pitches have been pretty good. So let's see what happens after drinks. All right, so drinks is over. Now we're about to resume after the drinks break here in Rajkot. It's third ODI of the series between India and Australia. And they'll be hoping Australia to post a very competitive total indeed. They're on track to do that. Good partnership developing between Marsh and Smith for the second wicket after the very good opening partnership between Warner and Marsh. Unfortunately, Warner departed. He's the only wicket to fall. And that was off Pradesh Krishna, caught behind by KL Rahul after David Warner made 50 and then got out soon after. Mitchell Marsh, pretty good record of one-day cricket against India, 412 runs plus a century, which he scored back in 2016-17 at the SCG in that series. And Australia didn't win that match in the end. They lost that match in that ODI series back in 2016-17 in Australia. That's where Mitchell Marsh made that century. His only one-day century. Made 101 in that match, I think. From memory, if memory serves me correctly. Can he be on track for another century today? Well, he's already got to 50, so he needs another 50 runs to do that. Hopefully he can. From Australia's point of view, he's in, he's set, he's got to build on that. That's been the problem with Australia in the recent games. Jadeja to continue after drinks. He's in now. This one's short, and Smith gets it past, lofted it past Jadeja. Down to long off for a couple of runs. And that's what Steve Smith will do. He'll just nudge it in the gaps. He's the anchor. That one down the ground on this occasion. And he picked up a couple of runs. Jadeja in. This one defended by Smith to the offside, and there is no run. Jadeja in. This one short outside of stump. Smith cuts through backward point. He'll pick up another couple of runs. Moves on to 29. 29 for Smith. Australia 1 for 135. 50 for Marsh of 45 balls. Smith 29 off 26, which is a pretty good scoring rate. Which is not bad. It's pretty good. Jadeja in, but Smith pulls out and not quite ready. Always frustrating when the batter pulls out at the last minute for the bowler. Jadeja in. This one full outside off stump. Driven by Smith to deep cover. He'll pick up a single. He moves on to 30. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll be here for another few overs. We'll be here up until the 25th over. So that's how long we're going to be sticking around for. Jadeja in. This one defended by Marsh. No run. Not a bad over from Australia. 5 from it. 2 dot balls. 1 to go in the over. Jadeja in. This one defended by Marsh for no run. It's the end of the over. 18 done. 1 for 136. Yes, also a reminder, the World Cup, of course, will be in another few days from now, a few weeks from now. So here on the podcast, on the Dibbly-Dobbly podcast, we'll be covering the World Cup, of course. So make sure you subscribe and don't miss out on our World Cup coverage, because it's going to be a very exciting tournament, that's for sure. And make sure you don't miss out. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please do. We've ticked over 700 subscribers, and we want to push on and hopefully get to 800 very shortly. That will be the next goal. So if you haven't done so yet, subscribe. It really does help. Sunder in. This one short, flicked off pads from Smith, but he doesn't get it past square leg. Dot ball. Sunder in. This one full and punched by Smith to mid-on for no run. Sunder in. This one on the stumps. And Smith just works it around the corner down to fine leg for a single. Typical Steve Smith batting, really. Bowl anything on his pads, he's just going to flick it away around the corner or through square leg or through mid-wicket. So you can't really get straight on to the pads of Steve Smith, because he will work you for runs. Sunder in. This one short outside off stump, and Marsh works it to deep point. Pick up a single. He moves on to 51. Smith 31. 1 for 138. Australia. 2 balls left of the 19th over. It's a good partnership between Marsh and Smith. Sunder in. Smith advances down the pitch. Works it to mid-on for no run. Using the feet, Smith getting to the pitch of the ball. Sunder in. This one down the leg side. Going to be called a wide by umpire Dharmasena. Extra ball, extra delivery, and also an extra run for Australia, which is good for them. Sunder in. This one short outside off stump, cut away by Smith, gets it past short third man for 4. It's another boundary for Australia, another boundary for Smith. He moves on to 35. Not a bad way to end the over. 1 for 143. Pretty good. Good shot there from Smith. Just a little bit too short there from Sunder. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be here for another 6 overs. So we'll be here until the 25th over. So that's not far away. So first half of the first innings we'll be here for. But thanks for joining us if you have done today. So Jadeja will continue. This one full driven through the covers by Marsh to the fielder at deep cover. He'll pick up another single. Well, in the last 3 ODIs at this venue here in Rajkot, the average first setting score is 312. The team batting first has won all 3. No one's won chasing. So for Australia, winning the toss today, batting first, hopefully to put a good score on the board and hopefully win this final game of the series. This one worked down the ground by Smith to long off for a single. Just doing it easily, Smith and Marsh at the moment. No panic. There's no rush. Jadeja in. This one. Marsh cuts, but he cuts too close to his body. Nearly chopped it onto his stumps. There's no run. Jadeja in. This one short. Defended onto the offside by Marsh. No run. Jadeja in. This one defended by Marsh for no run. Mitchell Marsh looking to continue on, get a big score today. 52 or 52. Jadeja in. This one worked to the offside by Marsh to the fielder at deep cover for a single. End of the over, 1 for 146. 1 for 146 after 20 overs. India going with the spinners in Jadeja and Sundar. Jadeja's bowled 6 overs, Sundar's bowled 4. So they've bowled 10 overs between them. In this spell of bowling, spin bowling from both ends, India trying to just keep these middle overs quiet. Australia, no rush. They're in a good place. 1 for 146. They want to set the platform for the likes of Glenn Maxwell to come in and finish off the job towards the end of the innings if they can. But it's been a good start. As Sundar will continue. He's in now. And this one worked off the pads from Marsh, but doesn't get it past the fielder at mid-wicket for no run. It's been good from Australia today with their batting, much better compared to the other previous games. They'll be hoping to push on and make the most of this good start. Sundar in. This one inside edge, nearly chopped on to the stumps by Marsh. He backed away outside leg stump, trying to access the offside. But in the end, gets an inside edge and nearly went back onto the stumps. But luckily for Marsh and for Australia, that didn't eventuate. Sundar in. This one short outside off stump and Marsh works it through. Point. Picks up a single to the fielder at deep point. Moves on to 54. Australia 1 for 147. Run rate 7.17. Still pretty good from Australia. Sundar in. This one, Smith tucks away off his pads down to find leg for 1. He moves on to 37. Very good start indeed by the Australian team today. Nearly approaching 150. Still 9 wickets left in the shed. Sundar in. This one defended by Marsh to mid-on for no run. Rohit Sharma, he hasn't gone to Kuldeep Yadav, who's playing today, the leg spinner, so he may turn to him very shortly. Sundar in. This one defended by Marsh for no run. It's the end of the over. It's 1 for 148. 21 overs done in the book. And Australia nearly approaching halfway of this innings. And we will be live for another 4 overs. Because we're only doing the first half of the first innings today. Not going to do the full 50, so we're doing half of the innings. So another 4 overs. We'll be live for. But thanks for joining us. If you have dropped in during the stream today. But Smith and Marsh have done pretty well. Good partnership developing. Australia won for 148. They're on track to definitely get a score of well over 300 now. They'll be looking to push on and continue this partnership for the second wicket, which has been good. 29 overs remaining. Jadeja in. This one full in the slot, and Smith dispatches Jadeja over the square leg boundary for 6. And that's the first shot in anger from Steve Smith in his innings thus far. It's a nice shot. A little bit short there from Jadeja, and just pulled that nicely, Smith. Saw it was a bit short, got into a good position, and that went over the boundary for 6. Jadeja in. This one, an outside edge from Smith, can only get it to short third man for a dot ball. Jadeja in. This one defended by Smith on the front foot. 150 up for Australia with that boundary 6 there from Smith. Jadeja in. This one full driven down to deep, long off. Pick up a single, Smith. He moves on to 44. Nearly approaching his half century, only 6 runs away from that. Mitchell Marsh on strike. He's on 54. So Australia in a good position at this stage of the innings. Nearly halfway. 9 wickets in the shed. It's good. It's a really good start. Jadeja in. This one full work to the offside by Marsh to the fielder in the deep for a single. And Mitchell Marsh, 55 off 59. Jadeja in. This one, Smith gets it through the offside to the fielder, a deep cover for a single. And that's the end of the over. It's a good over from Australia. It's 1 for 157. India still persisting with the spin attack from both ends. In tandem, Rohit Sharma hasn't gone to Kuldeep Yadav as yet, the leg spinner. So they've bowled a few overs of spin here. So they're going to go back to the quicks because Steve Smith and Mitchell Marsh are asking the 12th and 13th man to bring out the helmets. So I think Rohit Sharma is going to go back to his quicks. Enough of bowling spin in tandem. He's going to go back to his seamers and his quicks and Bumrah and Krishna and Siraj. They've been expensive today. They haven't quite got it right. Krishna got the early wicket of David Warner. Bumrah's been expensive. And also Siraj as well. Just haven't quite got their lines and lengths right. So we will be here for another 3 overs. So nearly approaching halfway of the innings, and that will be the end of the stream for us today. But we will be back in terms of live streams for the World Cup, of course, all the Australian matches, plus the semi-finals and plus the final. We will be covering those during the World Cup. It's going to be Bumrah back into the attack. None for 26 from his 3 overs, going for 8 runs an over. Didn't play in the last game. Was rested. He's in now. This one short, and Smith just glides it down to short third man for 1. He moves on to 46. The partnership's been good. These two have batted really well. 80 unbeaten off 85 for the second wicket partnership. It's been pretty good. These two have batted really well. Good cricket shots. Not really taking a risk. The pitch is pretty good for batting. They've played good cricket shots. They've pounced on the bad ball. If the bowler's bowled a bit short, they've pounced on it. They've just batted really well. So good, proper batting from Smith and Marsh. Nothing too reckless. Bumrah in. This one short and pulled by Marsh. Over. Fine leg for 6. He's hit another boundary 6. Mitchell Marsh, he's in good touch. He's on 61 off 60. Smith 46 or 40. That's a nice shot from Mitchell Marsh. Got into a good position, saw the length that it was short, and he pounced on it. Over fine leg for a maximum. Rohit Sharma not too happy about that. 6 there from Mitchell Marsh. Australia 1 for 164. Marsh on 61. He's on strike now to Bumrah, who's in. Past the umpire. This one full driven by Marsh to the fielder a cover. Having a bit of fun with the crowd, claiming the catch, but as we all know, it was a bump ball. Crowd catch. Bumrah. In again. This one short, pulled by Marsh to deep backward square leg for a boundary. And Mitchell Marsh is in good touch now. He's seen the ball well. He's in. He's set. 65 of 62. Bumrah not just getting his line, but also his length. Not quite getting that consistent line and length. It's been a bit wayward today, been a bit expensive. 37 off 3.4 overs. But if you're going to bowl short to Mitchell Marsh, he's a pretty good puller and hooker of the ball. He's not going to miss out on the short balls. So you have to get it right to him. Bumrah in. This one back of the length. This one short, outside off stump. And Marsh just glides it nicely down to deep backward point for another boundary. Back-to-back boundaries for Marsh. Already an expensive over from Jasprit Bumrah as Australia rocket to 1 for 172. Nicely cut away there from Marsh. Just use the pace of the ball, open the blade. Got to pass that fielder at backward point. Bumrah in. This one full driven by Marsh for another boundary. The fielder at deep point can't cut that off. Another boundary. 3 boundaries to end the over from Marsh. Pretty good over from Australia. Not a good over from Bumrah. It's 1 for 176. Yes, an expensive over from Jasprit Bumrah, but a very good over, productive over from Australia. It's been a good start from them in this innings. From the word go, Warner and Marsh, good opening partnership. And now the Smith and Marsh partnership has definitely picked up things for Australia here. $19 coming off the last over. So, Kuldeep Yadav, the leg spinner, going to come into the attack. Left arm leg spinner. Kuldeep Yadav's done pretty well over the last few years. Pretty good. Wicket taker. He's in now. This one full and driven by Smith down to a deep long off for a single. Races to 47. Mitchell Marsh in the 70s. He's not far away from another one-day century. He's already got one before. That was against India at the SCG in Sydney. That was back in 2016-17 in that series against India, where he got 100. He's only one-day century, so he'll be looking to get back-to-back centuries against India in one-day cricket, that's for sure. Kuldeep in, and this one, Marsh can only get it to the fielder on the offside at point, and there's no run. Kuldeep in. This one tossed up. And Marsh defends comfortably on the front foot for no run. So protection for Kuldeep Yadav. He's got 4 fielders out. He's going to deep backward square leg. He's got a deep mid wicket. He's got a long on, long off. The offside is pushed up. Kuldeep in. This one short, pulled by Marsh. Through square leg for 4. And just dragged that one down a little bit there, Kuldeep Yadav. We know with leg spinners, they tend to bowl the short ball, drag it down, long hop. That's what it was there from Kuldeep Yadav. Just a little bit short. Marsh was able to pounce on that, and that will bring up the 100 partnership for the second wicket. It's been good between Marsh and Smith. It's been good proactive batting, good cricket shots like that. Not taking too many risks. Australia building a nice platform in this last game here in Rajkot of this series. Pretty good. Very good start indeed by Australia. Kuldeep in. And this one defended by Marsh to mid-off for no run. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be here for another over. So 1 over to go before we sign off for the evening. But if you have joined us throughout the stream, thank you for joining. Kuldeep in. This one defended again by Marsh on the front foot for no run. It's the end of the over. 1 for 181. Good start by Australia. Really good start. Nearly halfway. They've got a good platform, good foundation at the moment. Good base. Run rate's good. 24 overs, 1 for 181. The partnership between Marsh and Smith over 100. 78 was the first wicket partnership between Warner and Marsh. That set the tone to get Australia off to a good start. And that's what Australia have done here. They've been able to build a partnership after a wicket has fallen. So good signs that they've been able to do that. That's been their problem in the last few games in this losing streak. They haven't been able to string partnerships back to back and build after losing a wicket. Bumrah going to continue. Struggled in his last over. He's been expensive. 4 overs done for 45. And he'll be hoping to try and rectify that in this over here. As Steve Smith's only 3 runs away from a half century. He's batted well in game 1, and he's batting well here in game 3. Bumrah in. This one back of a length. Smith gets a bit of pat on it maybe for a leg bye. Trickles out to the leg side. There's scamper through for a leg bye. So Smith will remain on 47 because there was a leg bye. And that will bring Marsh on strike. He's in the 70s, 77 or 69. Smith, 47 or 42. And the run rate's 7.5 for Australia, which is a pretty healthy run rate. And Mitchell Marsh, seeing the ball well. He's in good touch as Bumrah begins. He's in now. This one full outside off stump. Marsh defends. Marsh pushes it out to the fielder at deep cover for 1. He moves on to 78. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. This will be our last over before we sign off. Australia going really well. A good start here. Bumrah in. This one, back of the length. Smith drives through the covers. The fielder at deep point can't cut that off. He will race into the rope for 4. And for Steve Smith, he brings up another ODI half century. 51 or 43 for him. Round of applause from the Australian dugout. And Steve Smith, another half century for him. He's ticked over 5,000 ODI runs in this match. And he's looking for a big score here today. Raise of the bat. The job is still not done. Still a lot of overs to go in this match. Another 25 after this. Bumrah in. This one just hit into the ground there from Smith. trickles down to the offside. They scamper through for a quick single, drop and run. That's good proactive batting there from Smith. Bumrah, none for 51 from his 4.4 overs thus far. He's been very expensive. And Australia on track for a big turtle here. They've got the platform. The question is, can they continue it on? Bumrah in. This one full, defended by Marsh to the offside for no run. This will be our final ball before we sign off. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Bumrah, one ball left in the over. He's in now. This one full, defended again by Marsh on the front foot to the fielder cover. End of the over, 1 for 181. 1 for 188 to end the 25th over. Halfway, Australia going nicely. Good platform set by them. Mitchell Marsh struggling with the heat a little bit. It is a little bit hot out there. Understandable in this sort of climate. In the subcontinent, the heat's got to be a factor, that's for sure. And it's taken its toll a little bit. Mitchell Marsh has batted pretty much since the start of the innings. So you can understand if he's a little bit weary and fatigued a little bit. But he's pushing on and he's batting really well. 78 off 72. Smith, 52 off 44. Partnership over 100 for the second wicket. And David Warner's the only wicket to fall of the innings thus far. So there we go. Can Australia get to a good total of 300 plus, up towards 350? Maybe. They're certainly on track to do that. Can they do that? Let's see. Thank you, John. Yes, we will be back for the World Cup. That will be our next lot of live streams. We'll be back for the World Cup. That's going to be big over the next 6 weeks, of course, in India. So everyone gearing up for the World Cup, that's for sure. So that will do us. Everyone's struggling with the heat out there. Even the umpires are struggling with the heat. It is quite hot out there at the moment. We'll be here for one more over. Why not? We'll stay on for this over. That's a single down the ground to Smith. He moves on to 53. John, you say 380 should be doable. I think it should. I think 350 plus from here should be achievable. These two are going really well. So these two will probably have to bat into, the 40th over at least, and then really go from there at the end to accelerate. So that's why Smith and Marsh will be telling themselves, let's just get here until the 40th over and then let's go and tee off from there. Kuldeep in, this one on leg stump and worked off the pads behind square on the leg side from Marsh. Picks up a single. Kuldeep in. This one full on leg stump. Worked off the pads from Smith. He'll work it out to deep backward square leg for one. He moves on to 54. Marsh on 79. It's been pretty good batting from these two. It's good to see Australia batting well, getting the basics done with the bat, which hasn't been the case in South Africa. It hasn't been the case in the first two games of this series here in India. But today, they've gone away. They've applied the lessons that they've learned. Kuldeep in, this one full in the slot and lofted straight back down the ground from Marsh for a boundary. It nearly took off the head of the umpire. He hits the cricket ball so hard, Mitchell Marsh. He powered that. It was in the slot, step hit through the line. That's a very good shot there from Mitchell Marsh. He's motoring along now. He's nearly towards another ODI century. He's only got one in his career. That was against India back in 2016. Could he pin? This one defended by Marsh, but no run. Mitchell Marsh definitely doing his bit for the team today. Playing really well. Good opening partnership with David Warner. Good partnership here with Steve Smith at the moment. So it's been pretty good. These two will be hoping to bat on until the 40th over at least. Alrighty then, we have some technical difficulties with the stream, so I can't really comment on what's happening because I can't really see it. Technology these days, but Australia going well. You should think that Australia should at least get 300 from here, minimum 300. One for 190. Doing well. Good total on the board. Good pitch. So at the end of the over, it's 1 for 196. And the heat taking a bit of a toll with the players here in Rajkot. Players are feeling the heat, feeling that humidity, which is quite sapping. Mitchell Marsh batting long in this innings. He's batted since the start of the innings, of course. He opened. And this one short, pulled away by Marsh for another boundary. Races to 88, the 200 up for Australia. Washington Sundar has been dispatched. Second ball of his 6th over. Now that's a very good shot there from Mitchell Marsh. Got deep in the crease. Swiveled nicely, pulled that away nicely to the square leg boundary for 4. Sundar in. This one short, defended by Marsh to mid-on for no run. This will be our last over. Before we sign off, Australia have brought up the 200. They've still got 9 wickets in the shed. Sundar in. This one full and driven by Marsh, but he can't get it past the fielder at cover. An extra cover there, Rohit Sharma, and there's no run. 2 balls left, the 27th over. Marsh, 88. Can he get the 100? Well, you'll probably back him in to do so. If Australia keep going at this run rate, 7.5, 375. That's not a bad score. Sundar in. Marsh drops and runs to the offside for a single. Races to 89. 11 away from that century. He's only got 1 in one-day cricket, Mitchell Marsh. It was against India. It was in Sydney in that ODI series back in 2016-17 where he got that century. And Australia did not win that match. India won that match in the end. Up there in Sydney, Smith gets a single behind square on the offside. End of the over, it's 1 for 202. 1 for 202. Australia going nicely. 27 overs in this second power play. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for this live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and the podcast is available on Anchor, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. So make sure you check us out on those podcast streaming sites. Also, the World Cup, which is not far away. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on the episodes that we're going to do in the World Cup. Live streams as well. It's going to be a very entertaining, busy 6 weeks in October, November for the World Cup in India. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out. But thanks everyone for joining us, and we will see you next time. Until then, keep safe and bye for now.